What's up? I'm back with my next video, and the book I'm reading next is Good Material by Dolly Alderton. If you watched the video before this, you literally heard me say, I'm not going to start this till I get to the airport because I'm going on a trip to Atlanta. And I was like, I'm not going to start it till I get to the airport unless I get really bored. And lo and behold, I got bored just waiting here. So I started it, and I'm a decent amount through, not a lot, but a little chunk at the beginning. And I'm really liking the commentary on female versus male friendships. And so what happened is there's this breakup, and it's from his perspective. He's kind of comparing the way that his friends support him versus the way that his ex's friends rally around her. And it hasn't been a direct statement, but definitely the ways that they're being supported is very different. Her friends have constantly been visiting. He suspects that they came to help her move out. They just took her to a spa trip, and he's like, how are all of her friends able to drop everything to come support her whenever one of his friends was like, hey, we should all go to get a drink, so you can get over it. And they were all like, oh, sorry, dude, I don't think I'm free they were suggesting dates months in advance just to go get a drink. And even once they went and had the drink, all the friends were like, yeah, you just need to get your dignity back. And kind of at first they didn't even mention it. At first they were just avoiding the subject, and then whenever he did kind of mention it, they were all just kind of giving the cliche responses of oh, it's better that it happened now instead of in the future, those kind of comments, instead of being supportive. And it seemed more like they were trying to get to the conversation than actually being there for him. Meanwhile, for his ex, her best friend has been by her side the whole time. And even down to when they told each other, he didn't tell his friend for I think 3 weeks, because I think it was a little bit of embarrassment, and also just they didn't really talk like that, versus she had told her best friend right away. And like I said, the best friend was back and forth talking to her and helping her and all this stuff. So it's just really interesting, and it's kind of a critique on that. It is kind of weird though, because it's from a women's perspective, and while this is definitely something that I've noticed in real life with how men are in friendships, I kind of wish this was maybe co-written. That would have been really cool, where, you know what I mean, they kind of are writing on their own experiences. But obviously I think she's doing this is, like I said, this is what I've seen in real life, so it's just really interesting. And he's having to go through all of this alone, and he's coping in the worst ways. He's drinking in public by himself, just making these big scenes, calling people he hasn't spoken to in 17 years. And it's really hard to read from that perspective, just because I find myself kind of cringing and getting a little icked out. But what I have to remind myself is, I mean, he has no one to go to, and you just get that sense of loneliness and isolation. And I feel like this writing has been really incredible so far. And yeah, I hadn't read the back, I don't think, unless I glanced over it during a review or a book haul and don't remember. But I feel the one line that really I feel gets to the main part of this is after his breakup, he's wondering why everyone else around him seems to have grown up while he wasn't looking. And he says at one point, he's like, I feel like a burden to my friends now that I'm single, because they all have girlfriends and a life, and they kind of view him now as a burden because he doesn't have someone else to turn to. So, like I said, it's just kind of interesting seeing the comparison of how men versus women are in relationships, because I'm not all saying like men don't care about, that's not what I'm saying, men don't care about their friends, but there is a level of like, you don't want to lose your dignity, as they call it. You kind of have to keep a certain level of masculinity in a way, while with the women friends, they're just able to be there for each other, and like they said, they're going over everything. It's almost like they're all in the breakup together, compared to the men where they're just like patting him on the back, like, oh, you'll get over it soon, you just need to like find someone else. So I'm excited to see how this plays out for Andy, because he is kind of going through it. So hopefully he gets better, but I'm loving this so far, so I'll let y'all know how it goes. Okay, so I actually finished the book in the plane. I feel like it got progressively harder for me to read. I don't know if I already said this, but I just find the main guy very hard to empathize with. Like, I feel bad that he's going through all of this, but some of the decisions he made were, like, so cringy. I don't know if that's the right word, but, like, I literally would have to put the book down because I was so, like, at one point he goes to a therapist and pretends to be his ex, and like tells this therapist all the things he thinks his ex was saying about him, just to see like what the therapist would say. And like, it's just like weird stuff like that where you're like, dude, come on, pull it together. I loved at the end how it's for the first time we get her perspective, and I found her perspective really refreshing. He's like, she told him when they were breaking up, she said, honestly, like, I just want to be single. She's like, I never saw myself being in a relationship. And she's like, I'm independent. I just want to be alone. And he kept doubting it. He kept being like, oh, there has to be someone else. Well, we get her perspective, and she would mention things about how she never felt like she wanted to be in a long-term relationship. She kind of felt pressured to. And she did really love him. It wasn't that. It was just that, like, she kind of noticed that she was having to compromise on a lot of stuff, and she just felt kind of alone. And, for example, he really wanted kids, and she was like, I don't know about it. And she's like, the thing is she's the one that would have to sacrifice everything, like her career, her life, everything, and he would kind of just get to keep doing what he wants to do. So she's like, other stuff like that, she's like, I just am not okay making these sacrifices anymore, because it's not really what she wanted in the first place. So she does say, like, over and over, she's like, it's hard because she really loves him, but that's just not the life she saw for herself. And I mean, she would even mention times where she'd be like, they'd be at dinner and she'd be talking about was it her grandma? I think it was her grandma was dying, and she would be like talking about how hard it is, that experience, and she'd look at him and he'd be like looking off in the distance, like not even paying attention. So it's like interesting to see this whole time you're getting his perspective on like she is evil for wanting to do this other thing, and then at the very end you just get it ends on her perspective, and it kind of turns everything on its head a little bit and gives you some more reasonings on why. And yeah, I found that really refreshing, and I was understanding her thought process on that. So I really liked how it ended. Despite all this, it started off for me, I was really enjoying it. As it went on, I was kind of like, I think for me, I was just getting too embarrassed. I think that's my problem, because whenever I'm watching a movie and something embarrassing is happening, I have to leave. Like, I can't watch it. In this, I was like having to physically force myself. Okay, the part that I was having a hard time getting back into, he sees his ex posted that, I don't even remember what she was, it was like popcorn or something, some snack that used to eat together, and she was eating it with some new guy. So he's like, I'm gonna show her. So he takes his like new situationship
to like this karaoke place I guess him and his ex used to go to. And oh my gosh, she's like obviously not into the karaoke, and he's like trying to get her, be like, come on, belt it out. And she's just like, okay. Like, which it ends up being fine because she ends up actually enjoying it. But for so long, I was like, what? Oh my gosh, what is he doing? And he's literally just, she doesn't know it, but he's literally just doing that to like get at sex. So, like I said, I think it's my problems are that I can't handle the secondhand embarrassment feeling, and I really don't like it. Oh my gosh, Winnie's so cute. Can you see her? There she is. She's looking at me. Okay, anyway. You're so cute, Winnie. I can't handle that secondhand embarrassment, and that was making it harder for me to enjoy it. I think if that's something that, like, doesn't bother you, I think you would enjoy this book a lot, because it touched on a lot of interesting topics. I've kind of already mentioned the like male versus female response to like hard subjects and how they cope with it in friendships, and that was interesting to me. I also think at the end it was super interesting in how it was talking about what women have to kind of sacrifice to, and it wasn't saying it's all bad, because all of her female friends were like, they love their lives and they love being moms and wives and stuff. She's like, that's just not what I want. So it wasn't like it was saying it's all bad, but it was kind of talking about how marriage and a family can impact mainly women, because their whole world has to stop when they have a kid, and that's not always the case for the man. So it was really, like I said, it was really interesting. I think rating wise, I'm going to give it a 4.1, which is still really good. That's a good rating. I need to change my rating scale to be like more like harder. I think I'm just going to change it at the end of the year, because like I've been rating all my other books on this scale, so I'm going to keep using it. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to shift and be like tougher. But I think I'm going to give it a 4.1. If I was being harder, I think I'd give it like a 3.5 maybe, but I'm going to say a 4.1. Because I think mainly because the like I said, the themes that were being mentioned I found super intriguing and I was enjoying reading about. So I'm excited for my next book. I'm wanting to do a romance. I'm going to do The 4 Engagement Rings of Sybil Rain. And this is by Miss Hannah Brown, The Bachelorette. So I'm excited to read this, but that'll be my next video. So thanks for sticking with me. I know this isn't a super long video with many updates, because I was reading it in a plane, and at one point I was like, oh, I should do an update. And then I was like, well, I'm in a plane, I was surrounded by people. And I did it in another video. I was like brave and I just recorded, but I don't know why, but I just couldn't do it this time. But see you next video. Thanks for sticking with me.